Bestia.
Hiya, Manic Bestia here. On tonight's episode of Online Obscura, I want to talk about another one of my favourite deceased subgenres of hardcore from the 90s, Speedcore, Extratone, and everything in between. So, what is Speedcore? Well... Oh, it looks like somebody already made a video on it years ago. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, welcome back to my slop channel where I give you misinformation about things I don't care about and have no interest in whatsoever. So your dumbass can watch me read off footnotes from Wikipedia pages while never actually attempting to understand the subject matter. Anyway, did you know that Speedcore came from Gabba? Okay, I'm just gonna spend the rest of this video talking about Gabba now. Like and subscribe.
Gabba and Speedcore eventually gave way to Splittercore, which tops out around 700 BPM.
Wrong.
There are no Extratone parties.
Also wrong. Just... look. If you actually want to understand Speedcore, do not watch that video, okay? Because now I really just want to demonstrate to you what the genre is really about. So, let's begin with a quick lesson in Speedcore etymology. On a fundamental level, Speedcore is a subgenre of hardcore techno which speeds up the kick drums to over 300 beats per minute. Popularised by artists like Amiga Shockforce, The Quick Brown Fox, Diabarha, and more recently, Kobaryo. Speedcore is closely associated with other extreme music like harsh noise and black metal, which all share a similar association in people's minds as completely unlistenable garbage. Notable sister genres include terrorcore, which is a darker, more extreme version of hardcore, but not as fast as speedcore. Splittercore, which is any speedcore exceeding about 600 beats per minute, notable for its jackhammer adjacent sound. And finally, there's Extratone, which is anything above 1000 beats per minute, named after the tone you get from looping samples at these extreme speeds. There's also hypertone, flextone, flashcore, Frenchcore, etc., but don't even worry about those, we just made all this shit up anyway. But why did I start enjoying Speedcore so much? Did something go wrong in my brain? I mean, clearly yes, but much like a strange fetish, you can probably trace its origin back to early exposure at a young age. I discovered Speedcore after going down an extreme music rabbit hole in 2016. Thanks to the internet being so accessible at the time, I was able to find these underground genres on YouTube because of shitposts using them as a meme. During this era, being as loud and obnoxious as possible was extremely funny. So what's the loudest music I could find? That's right, you guessed it! It was Speedcore! I'll be the first to admit, it's a very difficult genre to get into. Especially if your first exposure to it was shitty Diabarha tracks that have aged horribly like Uranoid and Genocide. Not a good place to start. So I want to try my best to explain the genre to you in normie terms, and maybe after you watch this video, you'll have a more open mind about it. Or maybe I'll just confirm your belief that we're all just mentally diseased, I don't care.
Do you think that your music, like Speedcore and Terror, could be played in a regular nightclub? No.
When your average mainstream folks listen to music, they want to hear something safe, like 120 beats per minute. This tempo is very satisfying to humans on a fundamental level, because it's quite closely associated with the average walking speed. And you can also easily divide it up into seconds. So this would be 2 beats per second. But throughout the many thousands of years we've been making music, it's mainly had one purpose: to set a mood. From ancient monks using circular breathing to create unbroken flute drones to align your chakras or something, to heavy metal bands screaming through distorted guitar tones, music has always been about reflecting, enhancing, and creating an emotion. So where the fuck does Speedcore fit into this? Well, metal and punk music is actually a good place to start. Underground artists have always sought to express emotions we normally can't in a civilized environment. Feelings of rebellion, anger, insanity, and hatred, even finding new emotions through experimental techniques. Speedcore is no different. Metal and speedcore are somewhat emotionally connected too. Both genres tend to express an extreme sense of rage that's built up inside, releasing that energy in the most melodramatic and over-the-top way possible. And with black metal, when that double kick drum comes in on the quarter notes, it easily gets up to the 300 or 400 beats per minute range, creating a seismic rumbling sound akin to an earthquake. The fastest speed, the heaviest sound, the most extreme peak of the mountain and beyond into infinity. That is the essence of speedcore. However, metal music actually feels a very different desire to me, but that's just the closest genre I'd link to speedcore when explaining it to a simpleton. Speedcore has a way more extreme and unique sound to it, using the influence from dance and noise music to create unfathomably gnarly walls of noise. We're past the days of coked-up skinhead Germans speeding up gabba tracks. Now it's all about the new heads in post-Soviet wastelands, suburban Japanese cities, and the Australian outback that you want to pay attention to in the speedcore scene. Now, to the common outsider looking into the genre, you may think the only people who listen to speedcore are racist Nazi paedophiles. But here, in reality, that's about as far away from the truth as you can get. In my personal experience, I haven't met a single Nazi or racist in the speedcore community who wasn't immediately ostracized. Though I did come across a few degenerates. Yes, much to my frustration, extreme music tends to attract some extreme people. Get the fuck out of my... So, how can you avoid these quote-unquote people? Here's some tips for all you speedheads who are way too young to be listening to this genre, like I was 10 years ago. Step 1. Do not join any fringe Discord servers. In fact, don't install Discord at all, you will get raped. Step 2. Block anybody with a furry profile picture who tries to message you asking for photographs of your feet as a joke. Step number 3. Do not openly discuss your sexuality, because you're basically putting a target on your head like, over here pedophiles, I'm over here, please molest me. A lot of people were drawn to our community because their parents were abusive, homophobic, transphobic, or even French, so they had nobody else to turn to. In short, extremely vulnerable teenagers who can only find solace in these small communities of outcasts on the internet. So please, try your best to ignore any of these dumb cunts trying to weasel their way into our community. They seem to think that because we listen to extreme music, we also support extreme beliefs. Like, what the hell? The most extreme belief that I support is that like, come the fuck on. Get a life, man. A lot of speedcore takes notes from terrorcore, since both like to express the primal desire to commit mass murder to all who have wronged us. Psychopathy, war, drugs, and suicide, these are all the aesthetics of extreme music, whether you like it or not. At the end of the day, though, just remember that this is all artistic expression. It's designed to be shocking. Disclaimer. I just want to remind you all that genocide tends to be bad. Don't get me wrong, I can totally understand why normies would start clutching at their pearls when exposed to speedcore. It makes you question whether you're even supposed to be listening to it, like on a moral basis. Oh god, I don't want my kids listening to this 300 beats per minute bullshit. All I want to hear is a white man with a guitar. Now that's real music. Why is the light flickering? Why do I even listen to this shit? It fucking sucks. What initially attracted me to the genre was its darkness. Diabarha and Passenger of Shit were the first speedcore artists I heard, but their styles couldn't be more different. Swift, aka Passenger of Shit, is an Australian artist who's been producing his own brand of shitcore since the 90s. His music incorporates heavy breakcore and grindcore elements with an eclectic mix of harsh noise, horrorcore, tracker music, hip-hop, and even clowncore. Swift likes to use lyrics and samples which go into the visceral details of cartoonish gore and genital mutilation. But what makes his music so compelling to me is how these disgusting lyrics, terrifying screams, and distorted cacophonies are sometimes juxtaposed with these really sincere and vulnerable melodies. His album Surfing Down the Dunny is my favourite. It brings back loads of happy memories of when I was a child, when I would often have mental breakdowns in the playground because of anger issues. And on the topic of my disturbed childhood, that brings me on to Diabarha, an artist whose work has had a very personal connection with me since I discovered them. At the time, their album Inside of the Mind was the last one on the channel, with no sign of a return. It explores mental conditions from a first-person perspective. A lot of people try to act like they understand mental illness, but this album understands it on a much deeper level than any snake oil therapist with a degree in brainworms ever could. The melodies and timbres Diabarha uses are very distinct. 90s and early 2000s rave synths are warped into these gut-wrenching harmonies, which evoke a sense of twisted nostalgia for a time and a world filled with chaos, confusion, and suffering. A time when I was growing up with these mental conditions, and having violent outbursts was my only way of dealing with it. With track titles like Manic Killer and Schizophrenia Inferno, you may think on a surface level these songs are just genocidal fantasies for edgy preteens who play Danganronpa. And yeah, maybe that's true for some people, but when I listen to this album, I hear the inner turmoil that created it. Then suddenly, after like 5 years of silence, Diabarha just returned with a fucking insane album. It was legendary. But not all speedcore connects with me in this way. The Quick Brown Fox, for example, is much less emotionally heavy, leaning more into the happy hardcore sound of 90s rave, and paying homage to that era with enough energy to give even the most hardcore rave girl a heart attack. Look, buddy, there's only two types of speedhead, okay? You're either a gay, trans, acid, rainbow, fur fag rave kid, we call you people speedophiles, or you're an emo, edgelord, radioactive, apocalypse, skull-crushing meathead. There is no nuance.
Actually, there is. There always is. So let's fast forward and see what modern speedcore has to offer these days.
J-core, nightcore, and artcore. All genres old school speedheads would consider gay baby pussy shit because these producers have the audacity to make speedcore but actually mixed and produced really well. No, it's not real speedcore. Artists like Camellia, Kobaryo, and Starlight have all introduced new generations of mental cases to the world of speedcore, with their very marketable anime titty cover arts, and by fusing it with more mainstream genres like trap, dubstep, EDM, and rock. The sky is the limit with speedcore, and to be honest, the genre is so detached from its roots at this point that the name doesn't really mean anything. Although my favourite example of modern speedcore would be the anonymous SoundCloud user Dive to the Heart, who's pioneered much cleaner forms of the genre that fuse euphoric hardstyle with buzzing speedcore kicks, culminating in these transcendent songs that wouldn't feel out of place in your average hypertrance mix. Since their inception, breakcore and speedcore have gone together like peanut butter and banana. They're a match made in heaven, perfected by the likes of Goreshit, Akira, Midi, and of course, Passenger of Shit, each taking full advantage of these spastic speeds to make near incomprehensible sculptures of complete fucking brain rot.
People often joke about speedcore, asking, how the hell are you supposed to dance to this? Like, what the fuck, dancing to speedcore is easy, check it out.
Okay, but seriously, if anything, I normally just try and tap my heel along to the kick drums. It's really fun trying to keep up with the splitting speeds of splittercore, pretending like I'm actually hitting a foot pedal.
Hello?
The audience is falling asleep! You need to go faster!
So now you understand speedcore. But what about Extratone?
I really shouldn't have to explain this again. I'm fast. I'm so fast.
Even the best DAWs can't go past a pathetic 1000 beats per minute, so you'll have to use some tricks like half notes, quarter notes, and God forbid, math, in order to calculate the tempo of your track beyond what the DAW allows. Kobaryo and Igorrr have also revolutionized Extratone, using kicks played back at specific frequency rates, forming tuned notes using math to create symphonic speedcore that bends the entire concept of tempo into a disfigured and unrecognizable abstraction. Their use of Extratone is a lot more palatable for your average EDM enjoyer, since it feels more like an avant-garde art piece than a massive middle finger to mainstream music. So if you're gonna start anywhere with Extratone, start here. Do not listen to Urinoid, that should be at the bottom of the iceberg, but it has 3 million views for some reason.
Apparently, the sweet spot for the best Extratone is somewhere around 3,600 beats per minute. But who gives a shit, right? We just like big numbers. So do whatever you feel like, as long as it sounds cool.
Now this seems like a whole other bowl of spaghetti, right? Like, how the hell do you make music out of a sustained tone like that? Well, unless you're a Gloria, you'd usually use it as a climactic moment in a song. Many speedcore artists increase the tempo of their track over time to raise the tension, finally crescendoing in a sustained Extratone at the end. Tension and release. That's what most dance music is about, right? But Extratone works a little differently. The release from that tension is like one long, drawn-out shock of energy. It's kind of like grabbing onto an electric fence and not letting go. Extratone more so hits me on a psychological level. I really have to be in the right mood to enjoy heavy Extratone tracks. That mood being, I am literally having a conniption right now. My favourite Extratone songs come from Diabarha, Deranged Souls, Autism and Entire Universe to name a few. Unfortunately, many of their early output was really rough and is only really effective as shock value for normies. Hopefully this video has demonstrated that the genre can be a lot more than just that. Especially with Kobaryo. I mean, modern hypertone has become this like ascended form of music, which is able to open up new dimensions of sound in front of you. It's almost a spiritual experience. The internet has really changed speedcore. You don't even have to worry about people booing you off stage in da club. You can do whatever you want now and put it on YouTube. And if everyone hates it, you can just delete your channel after being called out for paedophilia. That happened. Thanks to the web, it's now easier than ever to begin making this kind of music. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to turn the tempo up, but it does take a certain breed of human to stick with it and realize that, hey, speedcore is actually really fun to make. But why is it so loud? Are speedcore artists just shit at mixing? I mean, usually yes, but it's a choice, right? It's kind of like black metal, where the distortion and cheap synth sounds are nostalgic and desirable. Scientifically though, higher frequencies sound louder to us because there are more vibrations going through the air at once. Faster vibrations, higher frequencies, create a perceptually louder tone.
Just be careful not to go too fast though, because if you go beyond a frequency of about 6 GHz, you'll accidentally create a black hole in your living room.
Speedcore artists love to be extreme, so we just throw distortion onto the master channel. Why? Because fuck you! That's why. Which massively increases the amount of overtones in the high frequency range. Ear fatigue is very real though, so I've got no idea how Diabarha was able to make a 3-hour speedcore track at the end of their already 32-track album. What are you smoking, Diabarha? And where can I get some? The genre peaked in popularity during the turn of the millennium, but to this day, speedcore is still influencing modern electronic punk. And now it's one of the most diverse and avant-garde forms of music in the world. It's about the closest thing you can get to anti-music before you're just listening to straight noise. And on the very precipice of what's acceptable and right is where you'll find something truly unique.
So that was speedcore, the genre born by the rule breakers. So remember kids, skip school and smoke crack. I know what you're thinking. Hypertone is too slow. This still isn't fast enough. So, let's enter a whole new dimension of speed. More speed! We must go faster! No longer will the boundaries of time and space confine me! I can do whatever I want, as long as this is in my possession! Oh God!